Hey, what's up out there, everybody? I hope you're all doing fantastic out there. I just want to thank you, as always, for taking the time to stop by the channel to check out a video. It's greatly appreciated. Today, we're talking about the new action movie called Angel Has Fallen, starring Gerard Butler, Morgan Freeman, Danny Huston, and Jada Pinkett Smith. Fill out the cast in this one with Rick Roman Watt in the director's chair. The story in this one, again, centers on Secret Service agent Mike Banning, played, of course, by Butler, who has repeatedly saved the president's life during his career, but this time he is framed for an assassination attempt on the country's leader, and he's going to have to prove his innocence against all odds. It seems in recent years people like to put down these types of movies and kind of crap on them. I think in the age of movies like Mission Impossible and The Bourne Identity with their very structured and layered stories, and other movies like John Wick with their very intricate fight choreography, that has kind of made people just forget about that massive gray area in between, where a movie can just have a simple plot that may, yes, play out a little conveniently, where the action may not be as choreographed, but still more than able to just provide a punch for an action movie to give it some violence, where that 80s action movie style lead can carry the film along. That when all of these pieces are working together very well, that it can create a great time watching for just simple entertainment. And I think Angel Has Fallen is certainly one of those movies, because I had a blast with it while watching. Does it make you dive deep into thought on character motives or story directions? Certainly not. It also does feel predictable in places, and the narrative is, yes, a mashup of dynamics that we've certainly seen slapped together before. However, it was still a film that I thought showed effort in wanting to entertain people. It's not a movie that felt like it was simply going through the motions like, say, Taken 3 did. Our main character has grown from the last movie. There's a collection of fun action sequences that had honestly a good variety to them. The supporting cast were all able to leave an impression on things, and I think the effort all around was really able to create a film that you wouldn't think was telling a familiar tale or serving as part 3 in a small action movie franchise. I mean, from the last two movies, this one did go its own direction at times, and it continued the overarching story by exploring more of the relationships between the characters in certain spots that I really had a good time with. Mike Banning and the president are given more time together, with a couple of fun scenes that were just charming to watch between Butler and Freeman, as they had great timing together. Banning and his father are put together for the first time, which allows Nick Nolte to come in and just create a surprisingly sincere performance. I gotta be honest, you wouldn't think this guy was in a shoot-'em-up action movie with what he delivered here, but it did go a long way in giving the movie just a surprising amount of heart. So yes, the story may have been formulaic, but there was also more than enough substance and personality that was added to it to keep it from being a hindrance. Plus, when mixed with the fast-paced action and just doses of humor to break the tension, there was an appealing flow to it all. I think Gerard Butler was excellent in the lead. I love this little niche that he's found for himself in Hollywood. I do think his range is underappreciated, but when it comes to action movies, he's a fantastic option for that normal grounded hero, and the masses would tend to agree. Olympus Has Fallen came out in 2013, had a $70 million budget. It grossed $170.2 million worldwide. Then came London Has Fallen in 2016, a movie that I really felt alone in liking until I realized it made $205.7 million worldwide off a $60 million budget. So while the consensus among critics may not be so favorable of these movies, I love them, and apparently a lot of you guys do as well. And once again, Butler was all you could ask for, and commanding in the lead. He was capable in the action scenes, and he really does turn on the charisma when needed to just capture the role perfectly once again for this franchise. The dialogue isn't overly cheesy. He isn't given a bunch of one-liners. Instead, he's delivered a bunch of simple responses to things that really capture that charming personality and everyman feel that he really thrives with, which was a great contrast to when he's breaking necks, getting his gun off, stabbing people, blowing things up, and running for his life from multiple groups that are trying to bring him in throughout this movie. The overall cast as a whole was solid, but I do think certainly the bright spot was Nick Nolte. I just love what he brought to the character and just the grounded impact that it had on the entire film. I think he just was able to capture a very realistic chemistry with Butler that was able to just capture both heartwarming and comical moments that overall brought a surprising amount of energy to the overall progression of the story. And I thought Huston and Freeman were both very capable as well, and they elevated their roles, and Jada Pinkett Smith was honestly hampered with some service level dialogue that did feel unnatural at times and just how it moved the story forward, but I definitely think she did the best with what she had to work with, although I certainly think her role could have been beefed up a bit. I thought the action as a whole was fun and pretty well crafted to build plenty of suspense throughout the film. There was a creativity to a few of the sequences that did keep them from feeling stale. However, I would say not all of the sequences worked for me. I definitely think the action in this movie is at its best when it's large scale and loaded with massive destruction and mayhem. Here, Wah and his direction really does a good job of capturing the scope and just the intensity of what's happening all around us. However, the more confined moments, such as a couple of fight sequences, were a little bit over stylized and kind of choppy without the best lighting. It's in these instances that the handheld camera techniques were a little bit too shaky at times for my liking, which did hinder being able to see the ass kicking on screen. There's a sequence in a vehicle that I thought could have been much more impressionable had it not been so dark and over-edited, just making it so hard to see what was actually happening. But with a good amount of action here in this movie, there is plenty of adrenaline-pumping shootouts and chase sequences and attacks and fights. They all do provide more than enough high-energy entertainment to weave in and amongst the bouts of story development that they do have as well. I went in wanting some great action and something that could capture my attention, and this movie, I would have to say, absolutely succeeded. But my main issue with this movie would be just the overuse of green screen. Without question, there's a handful of scenes that were just distracting, and I don't know if it's due to being reshoots or simply how some movies are made at times these days. An example of that would be a scene where a helicopter lands on top of a building. It's a common scene, but it's clearly a fake backdrop. Or another would be when out on the lake, the scenery around the characters was just noticeably superimposed, which was really a theme in this movie, where some of the more simplistic backdrops in places would be green screened in, when one would think it would be kind of easy to make it practical given the ease of just doing so once you find a real location. Regardless of that though, I still had a good time watching this movie. It gave me exactly what I was hoping for and a little bit more, so I'm going to give Angel Has Fallen a solid 75% on the entertainment meter. It was familiar at times, but it was also filled with effort, and really for a third film in a small action franchise, it certainly holds up. It does run a little bit long, but it moves the narrative and the characters forward, and it doesn't just slap some action together to sell tickets. So if you like action movies and you like the prior films or Gerard Butler, then certainly give this one a shot, because it gives you a little bit of all those things. Now for today's My Silver Screen recommendations, I'm going to be selecting the great presidential action movie starring Harrison Ford from the 90s called Air Force One, as well as the tense political thriller In the Line of Fire starring Clint Eastwood and John Malkovich, as well as, of course, Olympus Has Fallen, the fallen that started them all. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop it a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I'd love to talk movies with you guys. Share it with your friends, and without question, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can never miss a video. Here are some links to some recent reviews just in case you missed them. All my social media links and the link to our official website are down in the description below, and I'll catch you next time.